my son was 6 years old, he wanted goats so bad. So we spent weeks cleaning out our barn and building pens inside of it. And then we showed him all the work that was done. And he came up to us and whispered, and now we can get goats. So we found a local farmer, and she sold us 2 baby goats, just ready to leave their mama. And she delivered them the day before his birthday party. And then we hid them in the barn and brought them food and water and checked on them all through the night. And then on the day of his party, we put collars around them and a leash on them and brought them in the house for like a big unveiling of the party in the midst of it. And he just loved them instantly and ever since. And we've had them 10 years, and this is as close to shepherding as I'm ever gonna get. So when we talk about Jesus being a shepherd, we need to have a basic understanding of how that works. And it's rather different. Today we're in John chapter 10, verses 1 through 10. Jesus refers to himself as a shepherd and a gate and sheep and folds and all this stuff that's going on, right? Now a shepherd would often be hired by families of an entire town to care for the town's sheep. And during the day, he would lead them to food and water and protect them from predators and all that kind of stuff. And then at night, he would lead them into a sheepfold, which was a rock wall that was a circular shape. It's a rock wall, circular in shape, and it had one door. Boom, there it is. There's a door right there. And that was the gate. You can only come in and out there. So you can see why a common understanding of this text is that Jesus is a shepherd calling to the people of the world to become Christians and get into the fold of church fellowship, where inside the fold you are under the care of Christ and everything is safe. But did you notice something? Jesus isn't leading them into a fold, but out of one. Okay? It says this specifically: the one who enters by the gate is the shepherd of the sheep. The gatekeeper, I don't know who that is yet, opens the gate for him, and the sheep hear his voice. He calls his own sheep by name and leads them out of the fold. Okay, so my question is, if the fold is not some safe little Christian haven, but something else that we need to be led out of, what is it? That was my question. What is it? If this is a story, if this story was Jesus walking around the earth calling out for people to come follow him and get into my fold, then the folks listening would have figured that out. But it says in verse 6 that they didn't understand what the heck he was saying. Now, the Orthodox Church believed that this fold, this whole passage, refers to death. Well, that's crazy, right? The main point of the Gospel of John, all 7 signs point to this moment where Jesus says he's going to defeat death, the ultimate enemy of God's good creation. So what about all those who died before Christ defeated death? That's the question, right? Orthodox Christians believe this passage is Jesus entering death on Good Friday and leading the captives out in some great exodus back into God's presence. Now, later in the passage, in one that we didn't read today, Jesus refers to himself as the good shepherd who lays down his life for the sheep. Because Christ lives perfectly and dies willingly in surrender to God. And the gatekeeper, death, must let him in because he did this. And Christ can then lead those out of death and into safety. And you and I are called to live in the same self-sacrificial manner that Christ did, in faith that if we live surrendered, it brings about life. Howard Thurman says this: surrender is the key to freedom. It is the ultimate act of faith. And we don't have to fear surrender or loss or sacrifice or humility or gentleness. These aren't weaknesses. Christ did these things perfectly and defeated death with them, proving that love is the most powerful force in the universe. So if you want to see your world changed, if you want to see healing and reconciliation and peace and well-being and human flourishing, you don't have to try to gather power and greatness to yourself and then wield it upon the world. And you don't have to put your trust in anyone who promises greatness in the same manner. Because how you get something determines who you are when you have it. You don't have to sell your soul to gain the world. You don't have to trade love for power. All that is needed is faithfulness to this way of Christ.